挽回。死なないために死ぬほど準備することなんて絵に秘められたことでしょう。光栄だけど買いかぶりっすよ。
Hello guys, it's me Simo Orohoro, and in this video we'll talk about Aizen the Moken and his role in the story. Also, how much stronger he is, and what happened to the rest of his previous forms. First of all, I have to say that I was and still think that Aizen Sasuke's role in the final arc wasn't that big, because unlike many other characters in events that we didn't know whether Kobo would involved again in the final arc or not, Aizen Sasuke is the only character that everyone knew his return was inevitably coming. We knew that Aizen's role is still pivotal in the story and that it is a matter of time until he returns, either as a new and final enemy or at certain incident that will reverse the events of the story as it happened at the beginning of the story when he has faked his death. Even Kobo in one of his interviews had confirmed Aizen's return. Why? Because his role was still important in the story. However, I didn't see that. I was expecting to see some twists for him, a great battle where we can see some new level of power, and not the thing we have seen in that rushed final battle. On the other hand, I see many comparing the forms of Aizen that we have seen at the end of the Arankara arc with Aizen the Moken. What is the strongest form of Aizen Sasuke? That's a good question, but I see it from completely different angle. And first of all, let's remember what was Aizen's goal. What does Aizen want from all of this? According to the data book, Aizen wanted to be the king of the souls and make everyone recognize his existence. And this is an important point, because for example, if it was said that he wanted to replace the king of the soul, he would have just tried to kill Ryo and take his place without the need of Aizen to change his entire existence. But Aizen wanted to be the king of the soul in form and substance. And in order to be the king of the souls, Aizen saw that he had to break the barriers between the races so that he would be in a higher level than the rest. Therefore, during centuries, he focused his attention on inventing and strengthening the Hogyuko in order to benefit from its miraculous abilities, which is to fulfill the inner desires of people, desires that a person may not be aware of them. And this is the scary thing about the Hogyuko. It doesn't just fulfill what you want, but it does fulfill the thing you want consciously. For example, I can say consciously that I want to drink water, but deep in my heart, I want to drink Coca-Cola because I like drinking Coca-Cola a lot. So the Hogyuko will try to achieve this desire of mine by way or another. It's simply like that. And this is exactly what I find happened to Aizen at the end of the Battle of the Arankara. How? First of all, I can say that Aizen's full dependence on the Hogyuko started from the time he was attacked by Yamamoto, using the Forbidden Kido. There the Hogyuko began its work, so that Aizen came out of that devastating Kido, and then he was subjected to 2 hits from Getsuga Tensho in less than 1 minute, and they were direct attacks without any defense from Aizen. From that moment on, it became clear that all the attacks, whatever their kind, would be difficult to kill Aizen. Then after that, Isshin came and fought with Aizen. The latter officially confirmed that he entered another level of power, and then he gave us the true explanation of the power of the Hogyuko. And since Aizen Sasuke's desire was to create the Oken and then invade the Soul Palace and kill the King of the Souls, the Hogyuko was working on building the path of strength that Aizen would follow according to certain transformations. And each transformation took place when Aizen Sasuke was subjected to a deadly attack. When Orohara put some seals to block the reactor's vents of Aizen, Aizen survived that attack and became in Chrysalis form. Then after several attacks from the trio Kisuke, Ritchie and Isshin, Aizen has completed the Chrysalis stage and he entered in a 3rd form, so that his shape seemed to be closer to a divinic being, especially the shape of his eyes, which were similar to hollow eyes, and you can see them as if they were on the way to become like the eyes of the King of the Souls. And so on. Every time Aizen got a deadly attack, he enters into a new stage of power. Gin literally made Aizen's body to vanish, but the Hogyuko already had built the path of Aizen to achieve the divine form. Whatever the attack would be, Aizen will survive, and not only that, he will get into a new and strong form. And that's what we have seen in the 4th fusion of Aizen. More than that, we can notice that Aizen, since he got into these forms, he began to abandon the use of his Zanpakuto Kyoka's wickets. so that we didn't see any indication that he used the technique of his Shikai. However, with the coming of Ichigo, everything will change. At that moment, I can say that Aizen Sasuke had come to a crossroad. As I said, Aizen's goal was to reach the Soul Palace and be the Soul King. But when he has seen the new form of Ichigo, something has changed in Aizen. He has forgotten what he came for and started to analyzing the shape of Ichigo, why he couldn't sense Ichigo's Ryatsu. Secondly, Aizen had noticed Ichigo's Zanpakuto's shape and how it was combined with his hand. That's why Aizen during his final battle with Ichigo mentioned this similarity between him and Ichigo twice. The first time when he said that their hands were tied to the Zanpakuto, and the second time when Ichigo used the Mugetsu and Aizen's Zanpakuto seemed to break. Aizen said again, "I'm like you now, I became one with my Zanpakuto." I know some may say, but Ichigo talked about that Aizen wanted to lose his power because he was feeling some kind of loneliness. And I think this is not true, because in the first place Ichigo built his assumption on a false information from Orohara. Orohara said the Hogyuko has rejected Aizen as a master of it. But the truth is not like that. We have seen later that Aizen has become stronger than before in terms of Ryatsu. And if the Hogyuko has rejected Aizen, it wouldn't have stayed inside Aizen's body, and Aizen would have died from the moment he exposed to the final Getsuga Tensho. What I am agreeing with Ichigo is that soon as Aizen saw the new form of Ichigo, unconsciously he wanted to be like him. He wanted to achieve the power Ichigo got. And that's why I said Aizen had come to a crossroad when he had seen Ichigo. Yes, I want to be the Soul King. That's my goal, that's my path. But wait a minute, what's this creature in front of me? I can't sense his Ryatsu. And so on. Aizen started to give many theories about why he can't feel the Ryatsu of Ichigo. And based on this new inner desire, the Hogyuko started to redirect Aizen to a new path far away from the path that will ended up being him the Soul King. And this new path was to get a power similar to Ichigo's. Ichigo has become the Getsuga Tensho itself, and Aizen before thought that he had reached the limits of the Shinigami by mastering all the Shinigami's arts. But when he saw Ichigo in his new form, everything has changed. In order for Aizen to become in a level of Ichigo, the Hogyuko made him back as a Shinigami and then removed the hollow powers he had. For example, in this scene Aizen had the half of the hollow mask, but then the Zanpakuto was broken and then the mask disappeared. So what happened is that Aizen was literally back as a Shinigami, merging with the Zanpakuto and the Hogyuko. So for this I think, if Aizen's desire hasn't changed, I do think that after he was hit by the Mugetsu, he would have reached a higher level than the one we saw. Maybe some form like the form we have seen in Bleach Brave Souls. But Aizen Sasuke, as I said, was redirected to a new path, which is merging with the Zanpakuto and abandoning the power of the Hollow. Because the abilities Aizen has in those forms were quite unusual, like the teleportation technique or the attack he carried out on Ichigo's Dangai and was able to burn his arm. All of these techniques disappeared as Aizen Sasuke's path shifted towards full integration with the Zanpakuto and a reliance on the Shinigami power supported by the Hogyuko. And as Orohara said, the spiritual power of Aizen Sasuke the Moken has become at a greater level than it was before, meaning as if the Hogyuko compensated for the lack of the hollow powers and the rest of the abilities by increasing his Ryatsu. Thus, we saw how Aizen used the 90 Hado without a full spell and was larger than the Hado he used against Ichigo the Dangai with full spell. And so I say that Aizen the Moken is the strongest mode of Aizen because he gained greater Ryatsu more than before. It is true that he no longer has the rest of the other abilities that were in the previous forms, but the Ryatsu is everything in the story of Bleach. Without it, abilities cannot be effective. Aizen the Moken with his Ryatsu made his Shinigami abilities reach a higher level of effectiveness. He made the Kyoka Suigetsu ability activate on Yuabach, and this alone shows how strong he has reached. But in the end, I say, by choosing the Hogyuko a path of power similar to Ichigo's Dangai, this automatically forbids Aizen to be in the position of the King of Souls, because those who were able to take this place must be multi-powered like Ichigo or Hikuni. In the novel even Ginjo was mentioned and Aizen was never mentioned. Therefore, I might say that, for example, if this mode that we saw in the game was presented in the manga, meaning that Aizen reached a stage beyond the form we have seen, I would say Aizen who appeared in the game will be the strongest, followed by Aizen the Muken, then the rest of Aizen's other forms. And without the form of the game, Aizen Sasuke the Muken remains the strongest because of the power of the Ryatsu that he possesses. So guys, what do you think about this form of Aizen? Which one the strongest? Tell me your opinion and see you guys in my next video.